colleagues. Anyone else? The good part is that we are very few of you. Okay, Mabin, what do you think? Mabin, your experience, your understanding of what corporate social responsibility is. Mabin. 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 Okay, Claudia, any thoughts to it? Claudia. Claudia, any thoughts? What about Madam Christine? Any thoughts?
Let me give it a try.
Please.
Social corporate responsibility, sorry. For example, let's say when a construction company goes to a new place and they are constructing a school, there's a possibility that they might cause some damage or the environment might be affected in some way. So they are required to pay a certain amount of money. Yes.
Indeed. Okay. That's Miss Chulufia. Christine, anybody else? Faustina, you want to try?
Evening, Doc.
Yes, please.
So just like what Mr. Shamende said, just picking up from there, it's what firms, organization give to pay back to the community where they are operating from. I can give an example of should be Trade Kings. There's a market, there's a restaurant just opposite Museko, which was operating in a dilapidated state. So as a way of paying back to those marketeers, being part of the environment that they're operating in, they had to structure their business environment by coming up with a proper restaurant, some sheds and all, and then they even branded it with their flyers and all. It's more like also some sort of advertisement in some way, but it's paying back to the community that they're operating from. I submit.
Yeah. Fantastic. I think generally, we can deduce that we have an understanding of the concept of corporate social responsibility. Let me ask this question, colleagues. Let me ask. The original spirit, okay, it could be argued. Okay, it could be argued that the original spirit of corporate social responsibility has been lost. And in fact, what companies and organizations or businesses are doing now is they're using corporate social responsibility to create business, for their companies. So the question to you is, do you think, colleagues, corporate social responsibility is a mere marketing ploy? Do you think corporate social responsibility is a mere marketing ploy? Colleagues, your thoughts? Do you think corporate social responsibility is a mere marketing ploy? Yes, Madam Faustina, go ahead. What do you think? You're saying, of course. You're saying, of course. Tell us.
It is. Because in most cases, just like that scenario even the way at Mateveto Long Acres, like most of the flyers that are surrounding that area are for Airtel, if I'm not mistaken. So like the makeshifts are branded with a firm that helped to refurbish the work environment for that area. So I feel in some way it adds to that, like it adds as a marketing strategy for the business. Thank you.
Okay, that's a powerful submission from Ms. Faustina. Colleagues, the question which she was responding to, and the question on the table is corporate social responsibility, abbreviated as CSR, is it a mere marketing ploy for businesses to create and increase revenue? That's the question. Tuseko. Mm. Mm. Okay. Above submission from Tuseko. Any other submission? Do you think CSR, corporate social responsibility, is a mere marketing ploy in the contemporary business world? Chanda, your hand up.
Good evening, Doc.
Yes.
I would also agree with what Tuseko said. I think it's killing, was that killing two birds with one stone? Yes, when you do this, the responsibility, the corporate responsibility, you do generate goodwill. I think goodwill internally amongst your members of staff and externally to your customers. And once you generate that goodwill, you are likely to experience an increase in your sales. So I think it's if you say just merely merely a marketing ploy, it kind of takes away from the fact that that some companies do want to do some good. If there are other marketing, just strictly marketing things that they can do without deciding to help the society. So I think what I'm trying to say is I'm agreeing with what Tuseko said. I think it's both. Yes, there may be some characters, some companies who would just use it strictly as that, but I tend to think it's a mixture of both.
Okay. Power submission. Yet another power submission from Chanda. Any other thoughts, colleagues?
Yeah,
thoughts?
maybe I can comment something as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sometimes yes, corporate social responsibility can be used as a marketing tool, but it's not merely a marketing ploy. Some companies have used the CSR primarily to genuinely bless communities, try and benefit communities, and as well as probably benefiting themselves, just to try and be ethical, operate ethically with the communities and in societies where they are operating, not with a view of actually making profit. But others, yes, the idea is to enhance value and to try and make profit and so on. So surely it's a double-sided phenomenon.
Okay. Powerful submission. Colleagues, what do others think? Let's zero down perhaps with what we've heard. Okay, somebody gave an example of Trade Kings. Okay, the question is, you remember it was when COVID-19 landed, okay, Trade Kings appear to have done quite a lot. In fact, they moved very swiftly into the situation. Okay, before you know it, before we all knew it, they were telling us of things. I mean, personally, I never even knew that there's such a thing as sanitizer that existed. Okay, for me, you have to do James, you have to just use your soap and wash your hands. Okay, sanitizer. I was thinking, oh, oh my goodness, what is this? Yeah. So we moved on to, well, at this, introducing us to sanitizer. In fact, if my memory serves me right, not long from then, there was a new soap called, what's that soap? Hygienics, yes. Okay. Whether it was coincidence it was coming, to the market or being, deployed into the market, as a result of COVID or not, that could be, colleagues, debatable. But the point is that, is it possible, okay, in that moment, that this that Trade Kings was doing was indeed genuine CSR, exhibiting the original spirit of CSR as actually opposed to just using CSR to market? Is it possible, colleagues, that there was a very clever, innovative, and zealous manager at Trade Kings who said, hey, there's a pandemic, this is now a chance to make our money, and quickly moved in, made all the contacts. Half the time there'll be on camera, with government officials and ministries and and the government departments. Yeah. So when we know, or I must mention, that the original spirit of corporate social responsibility, really, if you go to history, is that entrepreneurs, businessmen and women felt duty bound, felt morally, compelled, okay, to sort of may not be commensurate to what they've extracted or what value they've gotten from operating from within a community or society, but they felt compelled, obligated morally to be able to give something back, be it symbolic or commensurate to the value they've created themselves. That's the original spirit of corporate social responsibility. But the question I'm asking, this that Trade Kings exhibited, when COVID landed, okay, do you think that was genuine CSR, colleagues? I believe you've heard my discussion, my submission. Colleagues, what is genuine CSR? Do you think Trade Kings genuinely wanted to prevent people from dying, wanted to help people, really wanted to help the government? Do you think that was genuine, or they were in it for the money? That's the question I'm asking, at least from a CSR point of view. Hello, am I talking to myself?
Doc, we're here.
Yes.
I feel like it was genuine, in my own opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you think it was
Yes.
genuine? Costina.
Because looking at the time, I don't think. Anyway, let me just gather my thoughts together, Doc, and I can defend my thoughts.
Okay.
Yes.
So whilst you are thinking, is it possible they could have done all that they did without cameras, without being live on TV? Is it possible they would have done that quietly? Perhaps would it change our argument? So Madam Faustina is gathering, colleagues, her thoughts. What about others? I see there's Loveness on the call, there's Karen on the call, there's Forgiveness on the call, there's Costa, there's Beauty, there's these two that are referring themselves as iPhone, there's Jedida. Colleagues, I'm asking the question, was that genuine CSR, you think? What do you think? Mr. Shamend. Mr. Shamend, I can unmute.
I've got a challenge with this one. Yeah, Doc, this question is quite tricky. Yeah, so it actually would be very difficult to actually say whether it could have been a genuine CSR for Trade Kings or not, by those donations that they're doing. But probably maybe I could say that there are two things involved in there. It could have been genuine, yes, but that genuineness must be backed by evidence, obviously, because you can't just say it has been genuine by on the face value, unless really you look at what was behind the motive behind that by going through what their motive was behind. But probably it looked genuine because really it helped people and so forth. But again, remember that when they were doing what they were doing, they were also increasing their public awareness, and as well as increasing their reputation also, the image building as well and so forth. So it's a double blow. They were also enhancing trying to enhance their value, which is money creation, and as well as of course it looked genuine to some extent.
Very interesting. Great submission. Any other thoughts? Mr. Shamende. Any other thoughts, colleagues? Any other thoughts? Hello, I'm talking to people. Any other thoughts? If we're not in class, permit me then to close class and come back when you're ready to be in class. Mr. Mlenga. Mr. Mlenga.
Good evening.
Mlenga. Yes, Madam Beauty. Madam Beauty, you have to unmute.
Hello?
Yes, please.
You can get me Zoom.
Yes, please.
Yes, so what I'm trying to say is it was a 50-50 situation. Because on the other hand, no one, okay, they were trying to advertise their product in some way because hygienics was one of the products that most people started using. So I think somehow it was somehow genuine, but again, they were trying to advertise their product because that time, that's when a lot of sanitizers were made. So it's a 50-50 situation. It was corporate, and again, it was also some kind of advertising.
Okay. So you can't be in both. You can't be on both sides of the coin. You can just choose. You just have to choose one. Was it genuine CSR or not?
They were showing it genuinely, but yes, it was genuine. Let me just go on the genuine part, because at least they became famous.
Okay, if there were no foreseen sales, if there was no foreseen growth in sales volume, do you think the company would have bothered? That's where I'm coming from. Colleagues, I'm saying what I've had on the call is 5 people so far participating. People are not ready. I'm ready for us to adjourn until people decide to be students again. It's you that is writing an exam. I'm not writing an exam. Mr. Mlenga, can you advise we proceed to adjourn?
I think we can continue, Doc.
Well, there's a reason why I'm asking this question that I'm asking. There's a reason why I'm asking what I'm asking. So the basis on, I'm not a lecturer who's going to come and start reading my slides to you. Okay, those are things you can even do yourself. It means there's no actual reason for you to be here, because you could just tell me and ask me to just send you the slides and we'll move on. That's what I'm suggesting. So, it appears people think I will come here and start reading slides with them. I'll not do that. But real, learning is from what I'm trying to engage you in. Mr. Mlenga.
Yes, Dr. I'm getting it. No, I think I'm thinking people are just maybe are just simply, but who are listening. A few of us are
yes, yes, Doc. I just wanted to give two examples. There are these two companies that I work for. I worked for Donovan Zambia Limited and as well as AGDC. Now, for Donovan Zambia Limited, we did some sort of what is called corporate social responsibility, but I would say it wasn't genuine because we were just able to plow back after making profits. Okay, so we were able to check on what profit we had and then started building schools. We built schools in a number of areas, in the rural areas and as well as sinking boreholes. But that was after realizing from communities in terms of our profits and so on. The other company, which is AGDC, we failed to invest in Mwanya because when we went there and contacted the chief said, we want you, actually she said, what corporate social responsibility are you bringing to my chiefdom? And then we had an argument and said, okay, we can only bring it after we have made an investment and see what comes out of that investment. And the chief said, no, we are not. I'm not also going to allow you to be here before that investment. So ideally, for those two companies that I worked for, you would say corporate social responsibility that we were exhibiting to society was not genuine in the sense that we're looking at profit first of all before helping the society. And that's why it is more difficult even for Trade Kings. We don't know what the motive. But to me, honestly speaking, I think it wasn't a genuine corporate social responsibility for Trade Kings. That's what I can say. Because obviously they could have balanced their figures and looked at how much profit they're going to make and so forth. But because they cannot, it's a profit-making organization. They can't just get into corporate. These corporate social responsibilities, Doc, is not exhibited by every company. It's not every company that is able to do this, because that is a cost basically on the P&L. And it also affects the shareholders. You know what it is. So company must survive. So this cost, in some way, must be recovered. Must be recovered. And I know Trade Kings could have actually calculated. That was a calculated move, and I don't think it was genuine at all.
Okay. Yeah. So that's Mr. Shamende's power submission. Costa, you had a hand up. Costa, you had a hand up?
Yes, Doc, I did. Or is it? Okay, so for Trade Kings, since it's not a non-profit, I believe everything that they've done so far, or they did, they do seek to at least make something from it. I think that's the most basic thing, that these guys are in it for at least the money as always. So with that being said, I don't think it was just a genuine corporate social responsibility. So it helped definitely, but that was not what they set out to do. This was a time for them to, as in just market their so-called hygienics, of which they did. It helped, but still it was about them having to make money because that's what they're in it for. So we always have to just look at to say, okay, are these guys in it? Okay, is it a non-profit or not? And Trade Kings is not a non-profit organization. So I believe everything they do is in line with them having to gain something. Thank you.
Okay, so by being in front of cameras and so on and so forth, would we just deduce, assuming it was genuine, would we deduce to say, look, they had to be on camera so that they let people know that there's this product that they need to use to protect themselves, or indeed, were they interested in the cameras because they needed people to know and needed people to find where to buy these things at a price. If I recall very well, colleagues, I think these products started off as being, relatively affordable. I think it must have been at a reduced price. I remember, I think the sanitizers were kind of at a reduced price compared to many other forms of, brands of sanitizers. I think, the price appeared to have been adjusted far much later, a year or a year and a half later, if my memory serves me right. And that's what I'm asking: is it possible that Trade Kings would have done what they did without going on camera, without all those reporters, without ZNBC? That's why we're trying to process this question of whether Trade Kings indeed was being genuine in his CSR, gesture, okay, as it were. So you see, colleagues, what I'm trying to say. It's like someone helping you, you're in need, and help you, and they actually start preaching everywhere. No, it wasn't for me. I don't know that one. It was me that did this. Okay? So what begins to go through the mind of the helped or any other person that is listening in, most likely will begin to question whether, this giving or this gesture was really wholehearted or there was some motive. Wouldn't you say?
Good evening, once again, Doc.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I think from this argument or from this debate, it looks like we may lose faith in humanity, or we may be naive in thinking that maybe a business. That's what I'm getting. Well, it looks like CSR. There could be, marketing. You can advertise on TV, advertise on radio, on billboards, and it looks like CSR is also another form of advertising. Maybe we don't want to believe that, or we're being naive. We don't want to lose faith in humanity's spirit of sharing and giving. And I think that's why maybe most of us were clinging on to saying, it could have been genuine.
Okay.
Yes, but yeah, I think they definitely wouldn't have done that without cameras, and they definitely, as Mr. Wishart put it, it's a profit-making organization, so they had to get something out.
Okay. A power of submission again from Mr. Chanda. Let me ask, perhaps the next question I want to ask, for a profit-making company, is the operation of making profit, is the act of making profit, is the activity of making profit, does it amount, is it an act of CSR in itself? Is the act or activity of making profit for a profit-making company or organization, is the act of making profit, an aspect of CSR? Is it CSR in itself? Colleagues.
Doc, like how can it be CSR when you're there to make profit?
What I'm asking you, tell us.
So I don't think so. Because at the get-go, you're there to make profit. It's for the benefit of the organization, of the firm. Like it's a business. You're there for the money. Yes.
I like that. Colleagues, perhaps submission from Faustina. Any other? Any other thoughts? Is profit making an act? Is profit making, an act of CSR? Is it part of CSR to make profit? colleagues? Any thoughts?
It's an interesting one, Doc. That's a very interesting question, Doc. Because if a company comes into a place, the social fabric of that environment or that place will definitely improve. There will be salaries being given. Maybe they'll bring in other infrastructure to that social environment where that business is, that corporation is working in. So I mean, it's a very interesting take, because definitely the social fabric improves when a business is running well and profitably by salaries and the other things that support the businesses in that area. So yeah, it's quite it's food for thought indeed.
Yeah. What do you guys think, Tseko? Okay, so now Tseko, the question now is that profit making in itself, is it an act of corporate social responsibility? That's the question on the table. Kelvin, Mr. Tseko, you wish to, Mr. Tseko, you can say something? Okay. Thank you. Kelvin?
Good evening, Doc. Good evening, colleagues. I think at the end of the day, after listening to a number of submissions, it's a double-edged sword, in the sense that from the submissions that are being given, we are being negative towards these organizations. But then look at it this way: Trade Kings goes to, maybe they're interested in maybe minerals, hypothetically speaking, in a certain area, and they'll set up factories, they'll set up plants. They're actually creating employment for the people that live there. The government is not going to do that. And as Mr. Wishart said, and other colleagues, the main objective of these profit-making organizations is to make a profit, of course. So are we not being a little bit harsh by saying, no, Bafana Chapen drama, or they're in it for their own gain? Yes, but okay, let's assume they don't do that. Who's going to do it? How will the lives of the people in those areas improve? So again, I feel as though let's not be too quick to say, no, they're just in it for the money. Okay, fine, they're in it for the money. But let's assume they don't do it. Who's going to do it? How will the lives of the people there improve? And someone mentioned about COVID, saying Trade Kings was trying to market their products. But okay, let's assume Trade Kings didn't do that. Are we willing to risk lives of people dying because Stingatenge ma face masks from Trade Kings because they want to make a profit? So yes, from one end you can say yes, they have to make money, or they want to make money. But on the other end, let's say yes, it's a business. They have to make money. If they don't do it, who's going to do it? I submit, Doc.
Submission from Mr. Kauluka. Colleagues, Mr. Shamende, you have a hand.
Yes, Doc. Yeah. I think profit itself is part of corporate social responsibility, because of course not in isolation, or rather not profit alone, but it's part of it. Because remember that the company itself must be financially sustainable. These companies that are able to, as I said earlier on in the area statement that I made, say, no, not every company is able to do corporate social responsibility on the basis of minimal profit and so on. But those companies that are able to make money are able to even, extend their profits into projects and so on to try and help societies. So yes, profit itself, yes, it's part of corporate social responsibility, because that's a foundation actually for helping societies. If you look at the schools that I talked about and boreholes, it's because we were actually financially viable ourselves as a company. So that is the starting point. That is the foundation. It's part of corporate social responsibility, but it is not. It's just part of it. Companies should do much more than just profit alone, by acting ethically, by obeying the law of the land, for example, and also contributing to that positively.
Doc, I was just looking at the definition of responsibility, because I think that is where the issue is here. Could be so. Maybe profit could not be. Maybe profit just running maybe is not part of CSR. I'm just putting it out there for debate, because responsibility is being. I'm here. Responsibility. They're saying it's the state or fact of being accountable, in charge, or blamed for something. So, if corporate social responsibility means that you are accountable for something, probably other than to your shareholders, right? But to maybe the environment in which you are operating. From this definition of responsibility, it means you have to be accountable or to be blamed for something. If you're just running a business, you make a loss, you are not accountable, you're just running your business. But if they say, okay, take care of the roads in this area, if it's pollution, do something about it. If it's water, and do something about it. So CSR means you will have to be blamed for something else, according to the definition of responsibility here. So I think maybe looking at what they are saying responsibility is, maybe just running a business, because you're not responsible, whether you create jobs or no one will blame you. No one will say, hey, this business should create so many jobs in this area. So by that definition, running a business, just running a business in an area is not CSR.
Okay. I have submission. Any other thoughts? Okay, another question. Colleagues. Do employers owe social responsibility to its employees? You sitting on this call, to the extent that you are an employee, does your employer owe you some form of social responsibility? As your employer or your corporate social responsibility, you as an employee. Colleagues. Colleagues. If you're an employee, does your employer owe you a social responsibility?
Sorry, Doc, when you say social, sorry, I didn't raise up my hand. Apologies for that.
No problem.
When we say employer owes you social responsibility, I don't know about others. I'm just trying to understand. What exactly do you mean? Like, if you had to give an example, what type of social responsibility?
But the student explained all this. We have just yes.
Okay, but okay. To
the
answer
question is, okay, before Mr. Galuk, before
Yes,
maybe you strain yourself, okay, maybe let's listen to somebody, some other people. Maybe
okay.
you gather up your thoughts.
Okay, that's fine.
Is that okay? Okay.
Yes, that's fine.
Mr. Shamenda. Mr. Shamenda, does an employer owe social responsibility to his employees?
Yes, Doc. Employers owe corporate social responsibility to their employees. Why? Because employees actually are part of key stakeholders of the company. And they actually, the employers owe employees fair salaries, and they have to provide safety and health. Like, for example, the company that I was working for, we could give them PPEs. We could provide them with boots, raincoats, and so on. So that was an ethical way of a company, operating and trying to help the employees as key stakeholders.
Okay. Yeah. What do others think? Wise man, what do you think? Wise man, what do you think?
Yes, Doc. Sorry, I just joined, so I'm trying to get into context. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Takwana Chikomo, what do you think? To employers or corporate social responsibility or social responsibility to its employees or to their employees? Takwana. Takwana. Then there are 3 Samsungs here. I'm seeing Samsung 721B. To employers or social responsibility to its employees. Samsung 556E, Samsung 426B. Colleagues. Ned. Maybe.
Evening, Doc.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Yeah. Yes. To an extent, yes, they do. It's not always that we are just working. Could be some creation, some sort of team building, even education also. Why an employee to acquire knowledge which benefit the institution, then that employee is sponsoring themselves. It's supposed to be the company take up, or the employer take up to have that they have enhanced on the skill.
Okay.
Some
of submission.
Kind of empowerment which should benefit was all. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mzakalo, hand up.
Yes, Doc. I think the challenge was me just failing to understand your question before, but now that I do, yes, I truly believe that they do. It's a must, in fact, because you've got things like even work-life balance. You can't walk into the office at 8 hours and then you're knocking off every day at 20 hours for the next 2-3 months. They need to realize that there's life beyond the organization, and so they have to create an environment where you're allowed to do that. Again, another thing I would point at is even just respecting their employees, looking at things like respecting, freedom of speech, or freedom of association. Just because management has a problem with one particular individual, and then me as Kelvin, I start associating with that person, and I'm viewed as the enemy. I mean, we need to eliminate that. And lastly, as I submit, I think the previous student actually mentioned about training and career development. I feel as though it's an investment. If you really want your organization to perform well, you need to have the best members of staff, and you need to take it up, and you train them. You take them to school. Unfortunately, some individuals, once they get that those qualifications, they opt to leave. And that's how come some organizations will say, okay, so you can't leave you'll be with us for the next 3 years, as a way of trying to recover on the knowledge they've actually helped you get. Thank you, Doc. I submit.
Okay, thank you. Loveness, you had your hand up. Loveness. Loveness, you had your hand up. Loveness. Go ahead. Loveness. Unmute to speak. Okay, while she's trying to unmute, Madam Vosina, you can go ahead.
Okay, so for me, I want to agree that yes, they do owe employees some sense of social responsibility. So I can give an example, like for the organization that I work for. Like after noticing that a lot of staff members are going to borrow money from other institutions with higher interest rates and all, the organization decided to start giving salary advance at no interest, just to cover up like over 60% or 80% of your salary. And then that in some sense eased the financial burden on most of the employees, and they really appreciated the gesture. So I think, yeah, they do owe employees some sort of social responsibility. Thank you.
Yeah. Loveness, are you able to speak now? Loveness. Loveness. Loveness and Koa. But colleagues, then, where do you draw the line between, staff warfare that an employer basically, has, signing the contract with you as an employee to provide, okay, versus social responsibility? Where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line between staff warfare and an employer providing social responsibility to its employees? Where do you draw the line? Or are we looking at these two, as being synonymous? Colleagues. Why do you draw the line? Some Loveness can argue that, providing training and sending people to school, no, it's part of HR function, okay, as enshrined in staff welfare policy. So the question I'm asking is, why do you draw the line between staff welfare, mere staff welfare, and social responsibility that the employer extends on an employee? Loveness, go ahead.
Sorry, docs, I'm driving back home. I wanted to comment on the. Sorry.
Loveness, we can't hear you. All we're hearing is your music.
So sorry, Dr. Majors.
Okay, so colleagues, you've heard whilst Loveness is trying to, gather herself up.
I wanted to contribute, but my network is bad. I don't know if my colleagues can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Karen?
Yes, sir. I wanted to contribute earlier. I think I also had the view that there's a thin line between corporate social responsibility for employees and also the fact that you are offering labor, and at the end of the day, there's a price tag to that labor you're offering. When a person or an employee is signing a contract, of course, they'll be bargaining there to say, for this form of labor, for this expertise, this and this is what will be involved. Say, for example, there will be medical insurance, there will be this basic pay, and there will be allowances. So at the end of the day, I don't know whether we can classify, say, a holiday for a manager or a holiday for an employee as social corporate responsibility, because those are things that are discussed or are in the agreements that you have with your employer. So I think that there's really a thin line, because again, you can say if they are caring about somebody's health, for instance, if they're giving you leave days to take care of your family, you can say that there's social corporate responsibility. They are caring, they are offering counseling programs under a scheme. But again, you can argue to say those things probably are provided for. If you talk about training, for instance, training is in their strategic HR plans. It's also in their corporate strategy, as in what kind of corporate culture do they want to have. And ultimately, obviously, they want to expand on profits, to expand on performance, which will ultimately result in profit. So it's really arguable that it's corporate social responsibility towards the employees, or it's just ultimately wanting to make more profit, and also just to maintain a goodwill so that it serves as marketing. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. Mr. Kauluka, you have a hand up?
Yes, Doc. I feel as though with corporate social responsibility, the organization doesn't have to do it. Okay? Staff welfare, they have to do it. What do I mean? When I say staff welfare, we're looking at things like, fair salaries and benefits, things like safety and, the healthy working conditions. Like, you have to work in an environment that is conducive, okay? Like, it has to be done. Those are like the rules. But with corporate social responsibility, unless I don't know, I'm behind, is there a law that stipulates that this company is supposed to do this? Or it's usually organizations trying to give back as a gesture or good faith, as in, look, we appreciate that we are working here and this is us giving back to the community. So in a nutshell, what I'm basically trying to say, if you look at things like scholarships for children being given, they don't have to do that. It's not really their job. Or, helping in community health programs. I don't think there's a law that says they should do that. But when it comes to employees, like the people that are working for the organization, I feel as though, yes, they owe them that much, you know. I submit.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Shamini, did I see a hand? Or would you be, looking perhaps a different argument, maybe another angle? Wouldn't the employer argue that, look, my relationship with you is transactional? You bring something on the table and I'm providing something which I've undertaken to provide. And at the end of the day, we fulfilled our obligations as employer, as an employee. And therefore, what more do you want me to do? Would it be that? Would that be the argument? Mr. Shamendo, you had the hand up earlier. Anybody else? Anybody else? Let me ask this, Mr. Mlenga.
Yes, Doc. So for me, I'm thinking taking care of the company can't corporate social responsibility in that mainly corporate social responsibility, if it is to be done genuinely, it's not supposed to be much of the benefit to the company that is doing it or to the employer. But most of the things that companies do for employees is either it's legal, like it's an obligation by law, or they are trying to improve themselves. For example, if they're taking you to school, if you're taking an employee to school, it is for the purpose of that employee contributing to what you want to achieve in your vision, in your strategic plan, and whatever, which is not supposed to be the case for corporate social responsibility, because you are not corporate social responsibility. You're not supposed to do it because you want to get something. But for employee-related matters, it's because you want your employees to be healthy, that your operations continue running. You want your employees to have good education so that they can come back and put back into the institution. So I don't think companies owe employees corporate social responsibility. The other thing is they wouldn't do it if you are not their employee. So they're only doing it because you are in their workforce.
Okay. So if your employer, Mr. Mlenga, on the call, if your employer decides to say, look, we hear there's a pensioners marathon being organized by NAPSA. So, and it says we hear the fee is 500 kwacha. We're paying for all of you to go and participate in the marathon. Would that be an example of a typical act that would amount to an employer being socially responsible to his employees? Versus, for instance, that we shall actually pay a subscription, for instance, to a gymnasium, as employees, okay, up to a certain grade, or or it will be, graduated depending on the position which somebody is, and they pay to the gymnasium. So, marathon paying for you for marathon versus a gymnasium, which one would you really think perhaps would amount to corporate social responsibility of an employer to an employee? Mr. Mlenga, you can speak. They're still thinking.
Yes.
Okay, again, lower your hand. Anybody else? An employer pays, and you all go and walk and run the marathon. Okay. Would that amount to corporate social responsibility? And add to corporate social responsibility the fact that the employer has paid for you that fee to participate in a marathon. colleagues? Am I asking difficult questions?
No, they are not very difficult. They're just making us think.
Okay, so yes, just don't think for 2 days. I want you to think and immediately respond. Colleagues.
I don't know.
Madam Beauty. What's your thought? What are your thoughts? Beauty?
Oh, sorry, sir, Doctor, I wasn't trying to say anything. But what I can just say, I think maybe, is I think companies do social to do social corporate responsibility to employees just for them to be encouraged to work, as in to work harder, because you can't just be doing it to the maybe to the community while your employees, maybe some employees do not even have where to live, because I've seen some mines where they at least provide the accommodation and houses for their workers. So in that vein, they encourage the workers to work hard. Because if you keep on just giving to the people outside, then it's more like discouraging the employees to do, because you can't just be making money for others to benefit. You also need to benefit as an employee. That's my thinking.
Yeah, but somebody could argue that providing housing is part of the conditions of service and therefore part of staff welfare. I'm guilty.
Yes, it is, but if they're giving maybe housing allowance, which means you need to pay for your own accommodation. But if they provide accommodation, then maybe there's we don't know what those working mines. Obviously, they get better salaries, whereby even if you're not paying rent, you are able to cushion the other amount to other things. But if someone encourages employees to work harder, if at all there's some kind of corporate social responsibility, some sports events, like they did these people for wonderful group of companies, their employees also participated in that marathon. So I think it also is a good way of mixing with the pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure, I like that part. Mr. Kauluka, you read the power submission from Madam Beauty.
Yes, Doc. I think so. At the end of the day, the key thing is who benefits. If it's the employees that are benefiting, then I would say it's staff welfare. Example, they're going to the gym, they are working out, they're living a healthy lifestyle. I think that's staff welfare. But if the primary beneficiaries, let's say it's the community,
sorry,
society.
Mr. Kauluka. Sorry, Mr. Kauluka.
Yes,
just
sir.
there, you've said you've classified the gym as staff welfare. What about participating in a marathon?
Yes. Sorry, I was getting to that. So again, so we're looking at who's benefiting, who's the primary benefit. So let's say these marathons, there is usually a tag to it. Maybe let's say it's a marathon running, awareness to cancer. Maybe those participation fees maybe will be received, they'll be donated maybe to a hospital or to an organization that will help maybe buy medicine for cancer patients. I feel as though that's where the change comes in. For the gym, it's for the employees. There's only a small number that's benefiting. That's the employees. That's staff welfare. But for the marathon, the larger community, society is going to benefit because the company will pay that participation fee. And that money is collected and it's actually now taken it's included in society. Something in those lines, Doc.
Yeah, I get you. Okay. Mr. Chanda, you're quiet. Costa, you're quiet. Foster, you're quiet. I have no hope of hearing from forgiveness. She didn't even attempt to say anything. Mr. Shamende, you're quiet. Where do you draw the line? Would a marathon be a social responsibility, whereas gym staff welfare? That's the question I'm asking. Okay. Yes,
I believe so. Yes, it is.
Yes, what do you believe? Explain what is it that you believe in?
I feel it's okay. It helps the employee more than it does the organization. So it is. It's a okay. The main beneficiary is the employee. So in that regard, I believe it's a social. Yes, yeah, that.
Okay. Okay, another question, colleagues. Oh, Faustina, you want to say something?
Yeah, like on the same thought, like is a marathon part of employees' social welfare or social responsibility by the organization?
Yes, that's the question I'm asking.
So for me, I feel I don't think it's a social welfare. Like what Mr. Kauluka said over the same. If it's for the gym, like for a few, I feel like that's social welfare. But when it comes to a marathon, I feel like I know there's no evidence or research on it as at yet, but I feel like the way these marathons are being conducted now, they're more like the benefit of the organization than they are for the employees. That's how I feel.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought. Very interesting
that's my
indeed.
submission.
Yeah. Okay. So, colleagues, is government, okay, capable of engaging in corporate social responsibility activities? Okay, is government, such as the government of the Republic of Zambia, can it engage? Is it capable of engaging in activities of corporate social responsibility? Or should it be engaging in corporate social responsibility as government? Colleagues?
Yes,
Yes.
Doc. I believe it is capable. So, for example, in some of these rural parts of Zambia, you'd find Zamtel is there. Like mostly, you'd find Zamtel, and Zamtel is linked to the government. Whereas MTN and Airtel, they are hardly ever in such places because, first of all, they look at the profit margin to say, are we going to benefit if we take a network tower to this place? So for them, the first thing is business. But for the government, in this case, they do help out. So yes, they are capable of it.
Okay. About submission from Costa. Any other submission, colleagues?
Doc, any example of such a corporate social responsibility that government would take part in?
Sorry?
Are you able to give any example or anything you can point at to say, or any example of such a corporate social responsibility?
Okay. Costa, you have done that. I made a submission. Somebody you're supposed to be asking Mr. Mutwapi. Mr. Mutwapi, Costa. Somebody is asking any examples you can think of.
The same Zamtel network. So I believe it is a corporate social responsibility in that this is a place which has a low revenue. so to say. But despite all that, the government still takes time so that they can at least put a tower that side, so that the people in those villages are still connected. So they don't benefit that much, but the fact that the residents in those areas will have network and will be able to stay in touch with their friends and family from afar. So yes, that's government doing corporate social responsibility, I believe.
Okay. Ms. Chilufya Christine, you had your hand up. Christine.
No, sir, I think I did that by mistake.
Okay, don't you have any thoughts? Is this that we're discussing?
No, Doc.
Okay. Mr. Shamende?
Yes, Doc. Yeah, I've had a problem with my network. So government do not actually engage in corporate social responsibilities because remember that government is there to provide public service. It is their mandate. Okay, so when a government builds a school, when it does this and that, they're basically doing their duty as a government. So that's their mandate. They're mandated actually to do that. But however, there may be state-owned businesses. Okay, because remember that corporate responsibilities, this corporate social responsibilities actually is meant for businesses. It's meant for companies. So in an event where the government has a state-owned company. Yes. For example, I had an example of Zamtel. Yes, where now Zamtel gets into, get into maybe doing a school as a Zamtel as a company, which is actually owned by the government. It gets into building a borehole for the society as a project. They get into putting up a school. They get into putting up a church. As a state-owned company, that becomes corporate social responsibility. But government themselves would not engage in corporate social responsibilities unless state-owned companies. Because they're mandated basically to do what they are doing.
Okay. So, Mr. Shamende, can you just give me a minute? Can you continue explaining this thing to the class? Whilst I'm away for a minute, continue explaining.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't really finish explaining. Anyway, class are you getting me?
Yes, boss. We can hear you.
Okay. What I was saying is that government do not normally engage in corporate social responsibilities because they are a public service. They are mandated. It's their obligation to provide whatever they do. For example, this government that we have, they're putting up a road from this great north road from Lusaka to Kasumbalesa and so on. That is their mandate. It's not corporate social responsibilities. They have put up schools. They have bought desks. They are sponsoring students to universities and so on. That is their mandate. That is their responsibility. It's not a corporate social responsibility. It becomes government getting involved into corporate social responsibility if there are companies that are owned by the government. For example, Zamtel, Zesco gets into a project. Yes, Zesco is owned by the company, by the government, quite all right. But it's a company. It's a company as Zesco, which is actually state-owned. So if it gets into projects of putting up schools, projects of actually putting up a ball, maybe getting into sponsoring school-going children and so on, it becomes corporate social responsibility at that level because that is actually a business, that is a company, though owned by the state. Corporate social responsibility basically came in for businesses, for corporations, for businesses that are there to make profit. So it isn't really that the government's mandate, its duties, and so on is CSR. Not at all, because that is the obligation, unless a state-owned state-owned company. I'm sure that's all. I don't know if we can explain it further, unless there's anyone else who can explain whatever they could.
So Shamind, I think I concur with you. If your government taking part in social responsibility depends on what is being done and what in what way they are doing it. As you said, the government itself, in most cases, can't be termed as taking part in corporate social responsibility, because most of the things that the government does is their responsibility. For something, I think, to qualify to be called corporate social responsibility, it should be voluntary, and it should be something that it shouldn't be something you are compelled to do, that you are expected to do. So government, I think, can only participate in corporate social responsibility through their institutions that they are that are under them, like a company taking part in corporate social responsibility, but not necessarily the government directly doing corporate social responsibility, because they're expected to do most of those things. Like you said, they're expected to provide social services to their citizens. So, yeah.
Yeah. So the question is, what is the role of government? What's the mandate of government? Okay. So government in itself has a mandate. And by the way, that mandate is represented by the various sector ministries. Okay. And further, as represented by statutory bodies of government, parastatals of government, as well as other spending agencies. So perhaps it can be layered, okay, maybe to the extent that you have a parastatal, such as ZESCO. The question would be, if ZESCO decides to say, look, we are going to, in such and such and such an area, we're going to put poles and connect them to electricity, okay, without paying. The question is, does that become an act of corporate social responsibility? The question would be, what is the mandate of ZESCO? So do you see, colleagues, how these things are tying up? If the mandate of ZESCO is to connect people to give people electricity, so just because someone doesn't pay, does it cease to be their mandate? If government established ZAMTEL for a purpose of connecting Zambia, and they go and put all manner of towers where these so-called commercial for-profit making organizations cannot go. Okay, the question would be, does that qualify? Does putting towers qualify to be corporate social responsibility on the part of ZAMTEL? That's a question you should ask. Perhaps this question would be answered properly if we answer the next question. Okay, the next question would be, we'll come back to this question that I've asked. So the next question would be, colleagues, for an NGO such as Habitat for Humanity, we know that what their business is about. It's about building affordable housing, okay, for the underprivileged, indigenous local Zambians, at least from the point of view of Zambia. So if that is the agreement, colleagues, have we heard of Habitat for Humanity? Maybe I might just be saying these things. Have we heard of an NGO called Habitat for Humanity? Have we not heard? It's either of the two. Colleagues, have we not heard? Hello, I'm talking to people.
Yes, I think I've seen the poster somewhere, Doc.
Okay. So the primary mandate, as we understand, is providing affordable, low-cost housing for the underprivileged. It can be in villages, it can be wherever they would want to put that. But imagine Habitat, if that is their mandate, okay? Imagine Habitat goes on to say, oh, fine, we have come to this village, we've built so many, houses for almost each and every villager. But wait a minute, okay, wait a minute. This population has been accessing water from a stream, okay, that is 15 kilometers away. Okay? And Habitat for Humanity reckons that, look, let's, maybe let's just give them a borehole as well. So the question is, is that borehole, would that borehole amount to an act of CSR, or would we deduce that no? Obviously, if you build people's houses, you have to give them water as well. So it's still their mandate. So building would building a borehole, colleagues, be an act of corporate social responsibility if the understanding, is that Habitat for Humanity is just about building, low cost and affordable houses. What do you think? Colleagues, what are your views? Mr. Kauluk?
Yes, Doc. I feel as though, yes, it is a corporate social responsibility because, like you've clearly stated, their mandate is actually to provide housing, okay, for these the villagers or the less privileged people. So if they start doing things that they're not supposed to do, like that's in their mandate, I feel as though they are going the extra mile. Though I will say that in the event that they erected those boreholes, there's a possibility that those boreholes would actually be white elephants. They would not be used. Why do I say so? There was a study that was carried out, I think, almost 5-6 years ago. It was in Southern Province, where, like you've stated, Doc, the water source was quite far. So the NGO decided to erect boreholes, but then it was discovered that they were not actually, the boreholes were not being used. Why? Women are the ones that usually fetch water, so they found that women actually preferred going long distances to get water. This was a way of them staying away from their husbands because they felt as though there was so much family pressure. There was so much being demanded from them. But when they went to these streams, they would actually get some sense of peace. They would chat. They would just basically try to find out what is happening in their lives. So I digress, but in a nutshell, I feel as though, yes, that is CSR, as they are doing something that is not part of their mandate. I submit.
That's a very interesting study. I mean, what has been brought by your doorstep, you still want to walk 10 kilometers to go and fetch water. The question is, what is that you're planning? What is that you talk about that you want to insist on covering distances when the water has just come, right under your nose through? That's very interesting. Yeah. So, colleagues, in other words, what this that Mr. Kauluk has said goes to your definitions of corporate social responsibility. Remember, your submissions were that I think there were 2 or 3 submissions, 4 submissions actually. Okay. That is pointing to what Mr. Kauluk actually has alluded to. So if the argument, stands and holds, that in fact, when Habitat for Humanity does the borehole, it means they've gone, sort of beyond what their primary mandate is, and therefore, the drilling of borehole becomes, an act of corporate social responsibility. So when we get back to the question, that I asked not long ago, that is government capable of undertaking corporate social responsibility? And the question is, what is the mandate of government? Okay, in fact, I did, indulge you colleagues by saying, what is the mandate of government? Okay, keeping in mind that government's mandate is as represented by all the line ministries, with all the representations that the line ministries have across sectors in form of statutory bodies, parastatals, and other spending agencies. And there was an example of Zamtel, going to the far-flanked areas, okay, to erect those, towers to enable people of Zambia have connectivity or get to be connected to the to the mobile telephone services. Okay, if Zamtel went into those far-flung areas and drilled boreholes, if ZESCO went to those far-flung areas and made a road or a school, okay, now that would be something that is outside their mandate. So to the extent, that anything that they do, if it is in line with their mandate, okay, it may actually fail to actually qualify to be corporate social responsibility, because one of the definitions of corporate social responsibility is that a company or an organization does beyond its mandate. Okay, I liked one submission when we were starting. Okay, that submission says what a company does outside their usual business. So we know that ZESCO's business is not building schools. We know that Zamtel's business is not drilling boreholes. Okay, and therefore, such an act would amount to corporate social responsibility. But if Zamtel was going to erect poles, it's their mandate. Okay, given by government actually. If ZESCO goes to put whether they're working through the rural electrification authority, or indeed they go and start putting solar panels, what are solar panels bringing to the people of Zambia? It's electricity. So it's still their mandate. Okay, however, if they go and start building schools, they start providing desks, okay, it's not their mandate. In fact, when these children of government do all manner of activities, so long as it's within their mandate, it's basically government doing it, and therefore, that the arms of government, okay, in the various sectors, which I don't know whether it was Mr. Shamende or Mr. Kaluga that said it's their mandate. It's like talking about matters of health. Okay, the fact that they're private hospitals does not relegate and take away the sole responsibility of government to actually ensure that its citizens are provided with adequate and comprehensive health services. It doesn't take away that from government. Why? It's their mandate. The same with agriculture. The same with security. You can think of the sectors that government is represented. You see that it's their mandate, and that has been very well summarized by, I think it was Mr. Shamendo said it's a mandate. However, I think the only departure was when he was saying, if Zamtel or ZESCO goes, I think that was Mr. Kaluka or Mr. Shamendo, where they go there. And I'm qualifying that if they go there, if Zamtel go to there to provide anything to do with enhancing, mobile or telephone services, it's with their mandate. It's the government not doing that. In fact, they just wouldn't wake up and say, let's go to Changombo, okay, somebody will have told them, oh, you're a government institution, can you go and do this? That's what I'm talking about, okay? And then, if, colleagues, when you look at what other questions I ask, we've agreed Habitat for Humanity, if they do boreholes, becomes, CSR, okay? I'm explaining whether if government, I'm explaining to you that government is incapable, okay, of CSR. If you see governments, officials say, no, we're doing corporate social responsibility, okay, that's just being misguided, okay? The answer is in the question, what is the mandate of government? Does an employer owe its employees social responsibility? Okay, so we'll go to what the mandate, we'll go to what the formal obligation of an employer is to its employees. And we actually was summed up in the condition of service plus staff welfare. Anything beyond that would amount perhaps to an act of corporate social responsibility to its employees. Remember, you may wish to know, okay, that corporate social responsibility may be internal, okay, may also be external. So that could be an example, for instance, of an internal corporate social responsibility to its employees. So the difference between paying for members of staff at the gymnasium, okay, I know some of you may even have those facilities or those conditions of service. You just don't go to the gym. Perhaps you're too busy or too lazy, or if you are truly, right? Or when there's the pensioners marathon or wonderful group of companies does a marathon at a fee, your employer pays for you. The question is participation in the marathon part of your condition of service? Is participating in a marathon, part of, staff welfare that your employer owes to you as an employee? If it's not, then it's an act of corporate social responsibility by an employer to his employees. Okay? Colleagues, it's like if we can that's the real life example. Another real life example is that if your employer has undertaken to provide a coffin if you have a funeral, okay, and I said that they come and start buying for you at your funeral food and putting tents and hiring vehicles, okay, the question would be, what is in your terms and conditions of service? What constitutes what has been defined by your employer, as agreed by yourself, okay, as staff welfare? If that is not part of staff welfare and the condition of service, then this amounts to corporate social responsibility, because then the employer is doing something that is beyond their mandate vis-a-vis the contract you signed with them. Okay? An interesting one is profit making, an act of corporate social responsibility, at least from the point of view of corporate social responsibility. Okay? Some scholars have argued that if you go and set up, your operations, your business in a particular locality, okay, the question is, would you continue, in existence as a business if you don't make profit? So not only are you economically responsible, okay, not only are you economically responsible to make that profit, okay, the argument has been you're also socially responsible to make that profit to the extent that your activities, of corporate social responsibility where you've set up are dependent on you being profitable, and remaining profitable means you remain in business. And therefore, it has been argued that profit making, at least from a corporate social responsibility point of view, is an act of corporate social responsibility to the extent that you cannot engage or undertake those acts without you being profitable. In fact, nobody wakes up, no business, no entrepreneur, no businesswoman, no businessman, no company wakes up and say, I'm going to make business. I'm going to set up this business. Okay, but I intend to be making losses. You're going to look very irresponsible. much more socially irresponsible. You understand what I'm saying, colleagues? So, in the case of Trade Kings, we should perhaps, as we have agreed, having listened to, all your submissions, okay, we should actually, perhaps agree, colleagues, that in the modern world, business world, okay, there's no free lunch, isn't it? There's no free lunch. So what you get is, something for something in return. One could argue. I know there could be some companies, there could be some institutions, okay, which genuinely would go and get into the society, okay, go to very far areas, no cameras, nothing. You would never even know that they actually did this. Probably when you visit, you hear, oh no, so company was here, it helped us. Perhaps that could, qualify really, as corporate social responsibility, okay, of a company perhaps going to a school in the villages, deep in the villages, and going to provide sanitary, towels for our girls, our beautiful girls out there, okay, with no cameras, okay, nothing, no money intention in it. Perhaps that would be corporate social responsibility, in line with the original spirit. But what we see the majority of institutions or companies is that, yes, seemingly doing something outside their mandate, but with a motive. Okay, what's more, okay, with a company such as Trade Kings, they're in the business of soap and all manner of confectionaries that relate to the health of his customers. Okay, so basically, it appears it was they seized the opportunity to sell their products. They seized the opportunity to inform, okay, the market that, oh, we have this product. If Trade Kings, okay, was not trading, or if the business of Trade Kings wasn't in sanitizers, but something else, okay, perhaps would have argued, to the contrary, that no, it was perhaps genuine CSR. Let's just take for argument's sake, if Trade Kings just provided a check to government to help out in the efforts to curb COVID-19, and they gave government, 100 million kwacha, maybe the argument would have stood to say, no, that was genuine CSR. But if your business is to produce methyl spirit, your business is to produce, sanitizers, and you go and say, we're donating, we're doing CSR, how is it CSR? Because in fact, you are seemingly seen to be donating, but heavily advertising yourselves. And colleagues, I can challenge you, okay, during the COVID period, you probably discover that Trade Kings sales volumes shot through the roof. So how does it come CSR, genuine CSR? So that is the litmus test. The litmus test, colleagues, is something that you're doing beyond, okay, your business, beyond your mandate, or something that is really a moral obligation out of, morality. If you are, but anyway, look, we've been operating in this environment, okay, but we see our women, walking distances to go, for their maternity services, or we see our citizens, our local people walking distances to access health services, or indeed, we see our children walking distances 10 kilometers to go to school, and you build a school, okay? And your business, is not that of building schools, your business is not that of health services, it's something else, then that, colleagues, may just amount to CSR. I hope we understand each other. Somebody argued, no, but government puts in policies that will enable, people to do CSR. Your answer is in what is the mandate of government? Imagine if the government had all the money in the world, colleagues. Imagine if government had all the money in the world. Would we have private schools? Would we have private universities? Would we have private hospitals and clinics? Because it means the government will have all the money to have all the equipment, to have all the money to have all the specialized doctors, would have all the money to be very efficient in their provision of health services, would have all the money to have all manner of hospitals for all manner of diseases across the country, within the vicinity of the populations, and therefore perhaps there being no need for private entities joining into the various sectors. I would submit like that. But it's because government cannot manage. Very few governments, at least in Africa, will have all the monies, to be able to do all these things I've talked about 100%. And therefore, private entrepreneurs, come in to actually, complement government. And therefore, if some permanent secretary or some minister goes and donates something, and starts saying, yeah, no, government is doing corporate social responsibility, that is totally misguided, because the question is, what's the mandate of government? What's their mandate? I hope we understand each other, huh? Colleagues. So we see, we see corporate social responsibility being defined as the social obligation of a business over and above, its mandate of making profits. So the question in this, the issue here is, in what Trade Kings was doing, was it pointing to profitability? Was it pointing to, an increase in sales when they are done with with the so-called corporate social responsibility? If that was pointing to profitability, if that was pointing to, an increase in their sales, then I'm afraid that wasn't corporate social responsibility. That was just being clever by, the managers at Trade Kings and quickly seizing the moment, because what they saw perhaps in the suffering of the Zambians, in the deaths of the Zambians, was perhaps an opportunity to make business and profits. I hope you understand. So for a business, the primary mandate, the mandate is making profit. I hope I'm making myself clear here. It's making profit. If Trade Kings decide to do something that is not pointing to making profit, then I would be satisfied that, yes, they were sticking to the original spirit of corporate social responsibility of an entrepreneur, to the community or to the environment in which they actually operate. So what you see at the center of this definition is that, colleagues, is that an action by a company, by an action by an organization, or a deed by that organization has to be voluntary. So CSR's original definition does not involve coercion, where you are forcing businesses, you are forcing companies to actually donate. Can you build this road here because we gave you a license as government, or we've given you? No, that's not the original spirit of corporate social responsibility. That's not part of the original definition of corporate social responsibility. Why? Because the business should not be coerced into undertaking corporate social responsibility. I hope you understand, colleagues. So corporate social responsibility initiatives are actually seen as standards and measures that businesses put in place to benefit society. In the contemporary business world, colleagues would simply say benefit society as well as the environment. I hope we understand each other. Faustina, Mr. Tuseko, Mr. Shamenda, Mr. Mlenga, Loveness. I hope we understand each other. So we'll pick up next time we meet from here. Okay? Or let me just deal with this. Yeah. Let me just deal with this. Just basically amplify the meaning of CSR, even as we part company. So CSR means social responsibility, of the corporate sector or organizations, which also means response, okay, of this, of the businesses towards society, by the way, and the environment. Okay, so CSR also means that a company, is concerned, okay? A company is concerned and commitment towards society, sustainability, and development. So you're located in a locality, you're making profits, okay? A bad corporate citizen will be making all the profits when there's very little, okay, showing society that where they're operating from, that they've made a difference. So CSR, corporate social responsibility, also means, okay, that it is the ethical behavior of a company or an organization towards society. So ethical behavior, colleagues, is the same as moral obligation. It's a moral obligation. So CSR, in some context, or another definition, is the moral obligation that a company or a business or an institution has towards society and the environment. It's an idea whereby companies or organizations integrate economic, social, and environmental concerns in their business operations. I think this must have been mentioned by either Mr. Shamende or Mr. Kaulwe. I'm not so sure whether it was Mr. Mlenga, amongst these three. So this is the meaning of CSR. So what you see, okay, from these two slides, is that these companies, yes, we're in it for profit, but I'm afraid you'll have to do something far much more than your primary mandate. All these definitions, you'll actually notice that it's an organization or a company doing slightly beyond its mandate, and this that it does beyond this mandate is what amounts to corporate social responsibility. Nothing to do with business, but wanting to benefit, society and the environment out of morality, out of, ethical consciousness. So what you see, colleagues, in the business world, for profit-making companies, then try to strike that balance between economic, okay, social and environmental concerns. Economic concerns, colleagues, as you already know, okay, they have a responsibility to their shareholders. Social concerns to the society or community in which they are actually are operating. Environmental, you want to avoid as much as possible from degrading the environment, because your operations are affecting the environment negatively. So just on these two, is there any question on these two slides? Any question? I hope now we're sitting on we're on the same page now. So I was asking what I was asking, colleagues, okay? Real learning is not me reading through my slides. We can as well just, if that's what you're looking for, that's the majority I've seen that is sitting on this call, okay? Then I can as well just give you all the slides and read on your own. Then we'll meet you in the exam when you have written and I'm marking. We'll see what happens. But you see, when I speak and I probe you like that, there's definitely a reason why I'm probing. There's definitely a reason why I'm probing. And I must tell you again, through your class rep, Mr. Mlenga. Mr. Mlenga, it doesn't have to be. Look, I under UNZA's law, it's called corporate integrity. Okay, but the content is corporate governance. Okay, in fact, this is corporate integrity and ethics. So if you look at the content of the course outline, it's basically corporate governance. But what disappoints me is how less engaging this particular group is. For some reason, this particular group is not engaging. And this same topic, same questions, okay, the graduate school of business students, I will have to control them and stop them from debating anymore because we've run out of time. So that's what disappoints me. That's why Mr. Mlenga was so close to saying, maybe we should stop this class to go and think about it. Come back when you are willing to be students. It's not about getting your qualification, your paper. It's about, learning. It's not about just the paper. It's about learning. Okay, some of you are managers. Some of you are looking to be managers. When you're a manager, what is it that you bring on the table? Are you going to be one that's just going to be bragging? You have a master's, but you're an empty shell. That's the difference, colleagues. So that's that, Mr. Mlenga. I'm burdening you with these things that I've said. Okay.
No, it's okay, Doc. Yes.
Yeah. So we'll meet today is Monday. So we can meet we're going to meet on Wednesday.
Okay.
Same time. All right,
okay,
colleagues.
That's fine.
Yeah. So
just before you go, Doc.
Yes, please.
The last time you told us that the guidelines for answering the assignments should be in the questions, but apparently there's nothing. It's just the questions that are there.
Really? Okay, let me get back to you tomorrow. Let me get back to you tomorrow afternoon. Let me look at it.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Good night then. Good night, colleagues.
Thank you. Good night.
All right.
Good night, Doc.